Anyone that grew up watching Nickelodeon around the same time as I did remembers the adventures of Jimmy Neutron, boy genius. But do you remember what actually happened in this show? Because Jimmy Neutron is a lot more unhinged and maniacal than I first thought. It's been on my mind a lot ever since that night that intrusive thought struck me out of nowhere. Remember that one episode of Jimmy Neutron where leaving me no choice but to confirm my suspicion by rewatching the entire show. And so now, coming out the other side with a little less ignorance and a little less bliss, I present to you my top 10 most insane Jimmy Neutron episodes.
I'm both impressed and disturbed.
Candy that maximizes the use of every one of the tongue's pleasure receptors.
Jimmy min-maxes the science of flavor and taste buds to make crack candy.
I'll give you every CD in my collection if you give me more candy!
The episode begins with a healthy dose of sadism that will effectively set the tone for this whole adventure. Jimmy is conducting a memory experiment on Carl, who keeps choosing wrong and is consequently shocked 77 times because his brain is smaller than a rock.
Carl, you've done this 76 times.
Which is enough excruciating pain upon his friend for Jimmy to call for a break.
Let's just take a break, guys. Hey, how about a trip to the candy bar?
They can't decide what kind of candy they want at the candy bar, which makes them yearn for a mega candy that has
All the best tastes.
Yeah, it'd be sweet and sour and nutty and gummy and creamy and...
So, they come up with that idea, and Jimmy's like,
That's easy!
he puts Carl and Sheen through several failed experiments, causing them to leave his lab.
Oh, gee, look at the time.
Then he stays up all night making the candies over and over with an android in his bedroom to avoid trouble with Mom.
I love you!
He dumps the latest batch he made in his bag without trying it and brings it to school, of which he is quickly called out for having and now must share with the whole class, including Mrs. Fowl.
Yowza! Jimmy, you were born to make candy!
Which, for the record, I love it every single time Mrs. Fowl talks.
What? But that's impossible! Who took my sandwich? Play ball!
That same night, Carl and Sheen show up in his room at 2 a.m., already heavily addicted and fiending for more.
You got any candy?
Takes a while. You have to neutralize the sugar and pectin during the gestation period and...
How long?
Which is followed by the reveal that it's not just Carl and Sheen, but everyone in their class who is addicted. The same day. For all of this to happen off of one day where Jimmy gave them each like one piece of candy speaks to the incredible power of his creation. They all took one hit and it completely hijacked their minds. This child has invented crack.
Candy's so perfect, it seems to have created a physiological need in people. Let the exploitation begin.
What? What follows is a sequence of the boy genius playing master manipulator, shamelessly abusing his power over his classmates, teacher, and principal until inevitably the candy runs out and the fiendish cravings do not. Even his parents are compromised.
Stop beating around the bush! We want candy now!
To which Jimmy responds by throwing away all the candy. My guy, you can't just get everyone addicted to crack and then cut them off. You yourself identified a physiological connection to the stuff.
Attention, Retroville! There is no more candy, and I will not be making any more. Thank you!
Yeah, this is an adequate response to the problem. Lol, get over it, lol. Jimmy can calculate an immaculate combination of flavors, but unfortunately can't calculate how his hopelessly addicted friends and family will respond to this hard cutoff.
What are they gonna do? Riot?
Yes! At this point, we've escalated to a full-blown down with Jimmy riot.
I can't believe I'm saying that about my own son! That candy is just too darn good.
Hugh really said,
It's simply too good.
feeling the pressure and the heat of the moment.
It's just candy!
Go for his tiny legs!
Jimmy has one of his trademarked brain blasts all the way back to the insight from the beginning of the episode, and he comes up with the idea to give them the candy that they so desire, but blasted with the edible shock ray. So he shocks everyone into breaking their addiction. Yeah, this is gonna get an all in a day's work Jimbo out of 10 from me. So there's a lot of different ways you could define insane, but the way I'm defining it in this list is how big the holy shit factor is when I'm watching these episodes. And here we've got a tie for the number 9 spot because these two episodes are infused with the holy shit factor in a very similar way. First off is
The Phantom of Retroland.
Nick gives a report in class that scares everyone.
He stalks the park after dark, looking for victims to eat.
Jimmy roasts the report saying that it's just a myth.
Isn't a basic rule of history supposed to be that it's about stuff that, oh, I don't know, actually happened? mind?
Boom, roasted.
Nick says no kid that has ever went to the park at midnight has ever come back alive, and he triple dog dares Jimmy to go, which he can't refuse, and he proudly accepts and takes Carl and Sheen with him for witnesses that he actually did it. He uses a hologram projector to once again pretend like he's in bed. Are we seeing a pattern here? The boys make it to midnight without seeing anything, and Jimmy's proud as fuck.
And conclusively proved it false. Take that, Nick.
But psych! Then the Phantom shows up.
Salami.
So they escape to a swingy ride to hide from him, but is only 3 minutes long. So Jimmy comes up with a good idea by thinking back to the beginning of the episode without having a brain blast? How'd you do that? They knock the lights off the Phantom, who is revealed to be none other than Nick himself. What a coward. But then the real Phantom shows up! Psych!
It's only Cindy and Libby.
But then the really real Phantom does show up with his glowing face and all. And Jimmy knows the drill by now, so he refuses to believe it. He pulls off the cape. And wait, no, this bitch is real.
What about science?
Science! Schmarts! Run for your life!
Well, everything we know is a lie. Psych! It's his parents in disguise getting him back for sneaking out. Why is everyone so manipulative in this town? And just when we've been hit with 3 fake ghosts, we get the wonderful implication at the very end that there is, in fact, a really, really real Phantom after all. The ending to this episode feels like the beginning of the Sasuke versus Itachi fight, where it keeps getting revealed that what we're looking at was actually just an illusion over and over, in a good, trippy way.
A pizza monster!
In Sleepless in Retroville, Carl and Sheen come over to Jimmy's house for a sleepover. Carl and Sheen are excited to bring their stuff over, and Jimmy immediately one-ups them.
You know, I think I have something you guys will enjoy even more. The Slumbertron 9000.
Much like many other episodes, Jimmy throws some technology at the activity to supercharge it. First, the machine 3D prints out some pillows for an impromptu pillow fight, which tires them out so it becomes time for pizza. They kinda want all flavors in existence, much like with the candy, so Jimmy punches it into the machine and, harnessing the power of AI, it craps out their perfect pizza. And now all that's left is to whip up a computer-generated nightmare.
One scream your head off scary story coming up.
The Slumbertron ChatGPTs it for them, complete with a narrator skull projection. He tells them about a monster who only appeared at night at sleepovers. The sleepover monster.
And he liked to eat children, boy children, just about your age.
Carl is freaking out. They fall asleep until Carl wakes up hungry in the middle of the night, but Jimmy won't wake up, so he figures,
I bet I could make one of those pizzas.
That's easy!
okay, so this is part 1 of Carl is actually dumber than Sheen. I feel like growing up I remember Sheen being portrayed as the sillier guy because he's so loud and flamboyant, but upon rewatching, I feel like, nah man, Carl is just as dumb, if not dumber, as we will see.
I want pizza. Love, Carl. Good. Jimmy!
And now in the machine, the scary stories combine with the pizza to make a pizza monster. His parents are about as helpful as a bag of bricks. And now they're getting chased by the ads while the kids are losing to the boss. Feeling the pressure of the moment, Jimmy once again commands the power of the brain blast to think all the way back to the scary story foreshadowed the monster's weakness. The sunlight. That's why it only attacks at midnight. And this is where the episode goes dummy. They lock away the evil pizza.
You stupid!
It's an epic win. Then it jumps out of the box.
Haven't you ever heard of sequels?
Psych! It was just Jimmy's dream. Until his parents run down the stairs being chased down by the pillow, and oh my god, psych! It was actually just Hugh's dream. But then Carl comes running and, scared by the pizza, it was real again. Psych! It was only Carl's dream. And then Sheen is attacked and it was only Sheen's dream. And then the pizza gets scared and it was only the pizza's dream. So basically they took the it was all just a dream concept and they freaked it.
Then I freaked it.
So you see why I'm putting these two at the same place, right?
Allow me to direct your attention away from the wall of security monitors.
Alright, Cindy and Libby are invited to a secret hideout of Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen's. There's a special mission from a princess that contacted Jimmy for his science boy services to steal a jade that can generate
near infinite amounts of raw energy.
She wants Jimmy and friends to take the egg before her evil brother uses it to enslave the entire world.
This device could enslave the entire free world.
You want us to help you rob the Retroville Museum? Have you popped the synapse?
And so then these kids proceed to rob a museum because someone told them to?
Because you told me to!
Sheen's talent is distracting the guards, allowing the rest of the gang to put in earplugs before Libby breaks the alarm systems with her high note. And I want you to think about how long you can hold a high note. Take note of what timestamp in the episode she starts her high note. Put a pin in that. Next, Goddard reveals the pressure sensors in the ground. Cindy takes a bite of Carl's energy bar and goes full karate mode. I guess the martial arts just comes with the voice acting.
Land of this place stinks. Unless you can stay above water for 1 measly minute, you forfeit the contest.
Goddard lasers open the roof and is about to lower Jimmy, but he has taken hypersonic damage from Libby's high note. They decide to lower Carl in instead so that Jimmy can watch Goddard. Oh my lord, this dumbass is in charge of way too much power once again. Part 3, Carl is dumbass. He swaps the eggs without having any clue which one is which. But you know what, he got one and they're on their way out. And oh yeah, what about Libby has been singing the whole time? And while this was, for the record, about 5 minutes in actual screen time, I figure it has to be more in actual time elapsed for the characters. Right? You're telling me they did all of this and robbed a museum in 5 minutes? It's insane either way. The faster the rob time, the more insane, and the longer the high note, the more insane. So basically, Libby is a superhuman, and the rest of these kids are cracked too. Except for Carl. I'm just fucking around. I love Carl, but he is a dumbass. They complete the mission only for it to be a switch-up. The princess was none other than Professor Calamitous. However, this time, Carl's idiocy saves the day as his swapped egg blows up on Professor Calamitous, and they epic win for the second time.
I hope you're happy, kid. Your stupid scanner thing broke Santa.
Broke Santa?
Oh, no.
So in this episode, Jimmy tells everyone that Santa isn't real and then he kills them.
There is, in fact, no Santa Claus!
While everyone's full of life and Christmas spirit, Jimmy is questioning,
how can a man with a 50-inch waistline fit down a standard 20-inch chimney?
Mrs. Fowl says it best when she says,
Jimmy, stop being such a Mr. Science head and learn to enjoy Christmas.
Jimmy's just a hater. His mom tells him that Santa isn't something you can prove with science.
He does exist because he's real in our hearts.
We learned that the whiny Jimmy is just a heartbroken kid inside when, a few years ago, he got his hopes up for getting a dwarf star for Christmas, and he was let down. He hasn't been able to believe ever since that day. Carl, Sheen, and some strange activity on his radar entice him to take a trip to the North Pole and see what's up for himself. Cindy and Libby get sucked into Jimmy's hypercube. Libby geniuses her way out of it with no brain blast required. They see literal elves in a factory, and Jimmy still denies it all.
Guys, this entire setup is a complete sham.
But the energy signal he's tracking down is overloading, and it fires an electric bolt that scrambles Santa's atoms. Libby and Cindy find him looking like a dumbass, caught in 480p. Naturally, this little psychopath fires off a rocket that tells Cindy and Libby to fuck off right back to Retroville. Jimmy stands strong, stomping on people's beliefs.
You'll all be forced to face the awesome, incredible truth: there is no Santa Claus!
Sorry everyone, Christmas is canceled.
Christmas has been canceled!
Oh no! That's the worst thing that could ever happen!
And it's all because of this boy, Jimmy Neutron!
They literally played the clip of Jimmy electrocuting Santa Claus on live TV. With only 12 hours to deliver presents to all the kids on Earth, Jimmy and gang fly out and go for the big delivery. Dude, these kids' aim have to be insane to land it in these Jimmys though, what the fuck? You have to respect how much this kid hates Santa Claus. Until they find they're running out of time and in a move of desperation have to use a risky warp device which spins them around the world, destroys their ship, and they're set to die. Until the goat swoops in and saves them.
So you're Jimmy Neutron. You've been on my naughty list for some time now.
Bro, you're telling me. But after all the shit in this episode, the most holy shit moment to me was when Santa himself has a brain blast that comes up with the plan to save the day. Turns out Santa is a legitimate genius in addition to being magic. And yo, they did get him the dwarf star from 5 years ago.
I got peace on Earth.
And Sheen got peace on Earth for Christmas. Wow.
A lump of coal?
Cindy and Libby got disrespected by Jimmy and Santa in one day. Damn.
The combustion cycle is accelerating out of control. Let's go.
Alright, let's get back to watching this little maniac go mad with power. Jimmy and Cindy's classic rivalry is at play here.
If you run half as well as your report on the time-space continuum, I already beat you 2,000 years ago.
They're shit-talking per usual.
Isn't that big head getting a little heavy, Neutron?
Oh, Cindy wins.
Quick! Trample him before he gets up!
So Jimmy feels like a bag of shit and his parents console him. And here's a critical moment that could very easily be overlooked in this series.
The resulting combination should create a propulsive yet frictionless environment around my sneakers that'll power me to victory.
Is that his mom keeps up with his excessively long explanation and tells him it's not a good idea.
But won't the combustion cycle become increasingly irregular due to the inhibiting effect of the silicon's thermal resistance?
In this moment, you're like, oh yeah, Jimmy gets his smarts from somewhere, and it sure isn't Hugh. He completely disregards her warning with his sights set on revenge. Sweet revenge. Through the power of cheating! Jimmy turns into the Flash or the Quickster or Dash with his modded kicks and flexes on him, and he still gets outsmarted by Cindy. Bro cheated and still lost.
Humiliatingly.
Carl and Sheen are still psyched and tell him that he's so fast that when he runs, he's practically invisible.
Invisible, huh? That just might come in handy.
Oh no. What are you gonna do now, you little psychopath? To test how invisible he really is, he steals a sandwich from Mrs. Fowl and breaks up what would have been a lovely relationship between her and a friendly squirrel. Realizing his power, the child shows no signs of responsibility whatsoever.
Imagine the possibilities. I could benefit all mankind! Or I could totally get back at Cindy. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
You what?
What follows is an increasingly dastardly cycle of boy genius abusing his power full of resentment. First upon Cindy for beating him fair and square in a race twice, and then he just goes nuts and hits the whole playground for no reason. Like the job has been done. The job was a stupid idea in the first place, but now the job is done. Until the laws of nature and his mother's warning come into play in the most frightening way, and he realizes at this moment with the lack of friction in his shoes, he quite literally can't stop running so fast that they can't see or hear him. He's gone loose and runs up and around the moon. In a last-ditch effort to get out of this, he figures if he can spin around fast enough in circles, he can slip out of his shoes, in the best case scenario. And in the worst, well,
I could end up a gelatinous mess splattered all over the ground.
And brother, that is what actually happens. Jimmy doesn't necessarily die in this episode, but like, he became a gelatinous mess splattered all over the ground. And then the episode just ends, with his classmates poking him. How the fuck is he supposed to get out of this? What the fuck am I watching?
You disappoint me, Jimmy.
Oh yeah. Oh hell yeah. You know what I mean? Sheen's brain, dude. This is one of the most memorable episodes on the show, largely because it's so insane. Let's get into it. Sheen gets a quadruple F- on a test, and if he fails another math final, he's gonna be held back.
Show me what you usually do to study.
Right.
We learn that Sheen has severe ADHD.
Sheen, concentrate!
I am concentrating. Hey, look, TV.
He can't hold focus for more than a few seconds on studying, but he can hyperfixate on Ultralord till the ends of the earth.
8 times 10?
Hey, look, a fly.
There sure is a lot of Jimmy shocking his friends in this show.
I don't like this game. Ow! Hey, look, TV.
Jimmy remembers that he can flip his brain drain helmet into a brain gain helmet. In Jimmy's words,
I'm just going to stimulate your cerebral cortex.
Stipulate away, Jimmy.
And voila, Sheen is smart. Now imbued with the power to control his focus, Sheen's hyperactive mind is concentrated into flourishing and lively interaction with everything he touches. It's not that he didn't have any attention. He actually had a lot of attention. It's just that he couldn't control it until now.
This idea that ADHD is an attention deficit, it is not. It is not an attention deficit. It's a terrible name. It's about attention regulation. A parent will look at a child and be like, well, he doesn't have an attention deficit. He can play video games for 17 hours straight. You've got to be like, he clearly does not have this condition when it's actually coming from the same place. We have plenty of attention. What we have trouble with is directing that attention. So sometimes we're going to get distracted by everything. And sometimes we're focused so intensely that we can't pull ourselves away. And that all comes from the same place, which is attention dysregulation.
With Sheen's new superpowers of the mind, he takes on the role of asshole genius. Quickly, everyone starts to grow tired of him. What's up with that? Jimmy hammers away on his helmet to change it back into the brain drain once again because Sheen's brain is only continuing to grow and it's getting scary.
Now give me my ice cream, monkey boy. I heard that, Carl.
I didn't say anything.
I heard your thought.
We're only like a few minutes into the episode and dude already has telekinesis. Of course, Sheen says that he can never go back.
I'm seeing things clearly for the first time.
Jimmy tries to put the helmet back on Sheen, which he firmly rejects, and in trying to use force to stop him, Sheen uses force right back. This kid went from Look TV to having Mewtwo psychic powers in a day. Going back to his lab, he calculates that Sheen's brain will literally keep growing to infinity, and eventually
his head will explode.
And Sheen's just floating around, terrorizing the city because he can, just stroking his ego, having gone mad with power. He makes a throne for himself, proclaims himself supreme overlord of the town.
Don't be alarmed! Unless you find it alarming that I'm declaring myself supreme overlord of the town.
He claims Libby as a queen against her will. And now Sheen is just literally playing with the people of Retroville. He even drops them flat. That definitely would have broken some bones. Sheen takes advantage of Carl's intrusive thoughts and realizes that the crown they offer to his majesty is actually just the brain drain helmet in disguise. So Sheen pelts them with electric bolts once again, like Mewtwo. I always remembered this moment when he puts them in quicksand.
But let's see how quickly you think in quicksand!
Maybe it's because I thought quicksand was cool, or maybe it's because of this epic fucking move he does. Sheen continues playing with them like a lion with mice, but they still care about him and have to save him before his head explodes. They opt for the route of finding the old Sheen deep inside the soul of Big Head Sheen, and they confront him with Ultralord. Bro, I cannot believe how big his fucking head is at this point. Oh my god. Urging him to put the brain drain helmet on, Sheen and his enormous ego deny it, and fire off the most evil brain bolts ever conceived.
Put it on! You dare to order me? Feel the wrath of my rainbow!
At his own hero. Upon realizing Jimmy and Carl were in the Ultralord suit, they in effect tapped into his inner self, and he realizes what he's done and drains his own brain. And good old Sheen is back after all.
My name's Professor Sheen, and I shall be learning you today.
Okay, it's Jimmy's great aunt Amanda's birthday. His cousins are all upset with Jimmy about the stuff he's done before, like with the electric pan, sending a meteor toward the town. And you know what? I don't blame them. No one kid should have all that power. Okay, look at those fucking burgers, man. Holy shit. Jimmy is on a mission to win Aunt Amanda over, so he gets her the spatula from the first episode of SpongeBob as a gift. But upon hearing a high-pitched noise, he realizes that it's triggered with explosives, and he pushes her out of the way to save her. And just then, everyone else's device starts to explode, and everyone naturally blames Jimmy. But Jimmy can't believe it.
There is no reason those presents should have exploded.
And so begins the mystery of the clash of the cousins. He asks ChatGPT, Goddard, to compare the so-called genius gene in his family to pin down who the evil genius is. They figure out that the top two suspects are Cousin Gomer and Cousin Annabelle.
What you're saying is that one of them must only be acting dumb.
Now that's interesting. But who is it? Jimmy still isn't let out of the house, so he tasks Carl and Sheen with collecting DNA from the suspects to cross-compare to the genius gene. Coming back with Annabelle's sample, it's a no match, so Jimmy figures that Cousin Gomer must be the most
dangerous intellect I've ever faced.
He confidently confronts him in the playroom, but in front of his face, they come up with no match as well. And then the doors lock. Cousin Eddie, the talking fucking baby, is the evil genius who tried to bomb the family get-together on Aunt Amanda's birthday. He claims that he's smarter than Jimmy.
I'm smarter! And I'm only 17 and a half months old!
Why would Eddie do this?
Why?
For Aunt Amanda's money, Sheen.
Ding! We got a winner!
This literal baby actually tried to massacre his own flesh and blood. You ask him why, and he says,
money!
I mean, it really is the perfect alibi to be 17 months old. No one suspects a baby. It's classic Art of War shit. Appear strong when weak, appear weak when strong, etc. Fortunately, this works to Jimmy's advantage too when Eddie doesn't know about Goddard's backup battery. He thought Goddard was disabled when he actually was still functional. Bro. And then capping off the episode with this scene where Jimmy is proceeding to fuck up this baby. And then Aunt Carrie just apologizes that her baby tried to destroy them all and casually just goes home. It's fine.
I don't feel so good.
This is one of the best episodes. If I end up ranking every episode of Jimble's Neutron, you can expect this one to be up there. We start with the crew flying back from a space mission, and the Jimmy-Cindy rivalry is once again in full effect. Carl is munching a sandwich and burping, Libby is using vanishing cream on a zit, and Sheen is vibrating in his chair all just as they pass through a radiation belt. They crash land and miraculously survive. They surely wouldn't have died if it weren't for the superpowers that they acquired from those rays. So they all get powers based on what they were doing during the time they were in the radiation belt. So now Libby can vanish, Cindy has super strength and can fly. They call her Special Girl.
Special Girl reporting.
Special Girl? Sheen is super fast like the Flash, the Quickster, and Dash, and Carl gets super burps. But the joke is on Jimmy, who's the only one who doesn't have any apparent powers. He's just tinted orange. The crew vows to use their powers for good and will fight evil. But the first target is Sam from the candy bar, who just isn't separating his recyclables. Like, that sucks that he's not recycling, but do we need to post up on him with the Avengers to deal with this? Cindy knocks the fucking sombrero off the building and Carl burps it into the sky. Sheen cleans up some trash, which is the first actually productive thing they've done, until it immediately swipes up a car with people inside, surely destroying one or the other or both. These kids have no idea what they're doing, and they create a 10-car pileup in the streets of Retroville. And then, out of nowhere, the military shows up with an enormous tank. When and how did this get here? Everyone shits on Jimmy, friends, military, and all, for not having powers. Like, they literally don't respect him enough to take him too. They just say, fuck you. Now, Cindy, Libby, Carl, and Sheen are locked up at a high-security prison in Area 86. Jimmy is freaking out on the keyboard about how his friends are losing their life force by the minute, and how he won't find a cure for them in time. He's tilted, he's growing, he's transforming. All along, Jimmy had powers. They just needed to awaken. Jimmy is literally the Incredible Hulk. Meanwhile, the parents are pleading to not have the army taking hold of their children, and Sam calls them mutants, muties for short, and says they should stay in there.
I say keep them there. No muties, no muties, no muties.
They see Jimmy and start to get him with the old tap into the heart, tap into the inner self on the inside bit that we saw from a couple episodes ago when he talks to his parents. You know, the most classic way of restoring the mind of the good guy in their state of fury. And then Sam throws a tomato at him, bro. What are you doing? So Jimmy's fucking up the town, so the army shoots him in the chest with a military jet, which Jimmy just destroys with one insane throw. Now the Gymster is making literal leaps and bounds into new battlefields. We are now in the middle of the desert, apparently far, far away from home. Put a pin in that. Back at Area 86, the gang has upgraded the fuck out of their powers in just a few short days in prison. Libby can now make other people invisible, which is kind of overpowered, and she can use force fields, so she's just Vi from Incredibles. And in order to break out of the super ultra mega wall, they must induce one of Carl's super burps.
Damn big.
And then Jimmy is shot in the chest by a tank! Hulk Jimmy versus the army is one of the wildest things I've ever seen. The gang is all here, and they're replacing the army and trying to stop Jimmy, which must happen before any of the superpower kids lose the remaining life force. Jimmy knocks Sheen's block off.
Best friends, right?
But when he punched Cindy, I lost my mind. Bro. She tanks the hit, and Libby and Cindy's powers combined are enough to turn the tables on Jimmy. They need to knock him out with a super burp. Carl needs some fizz in the tum to cook it up. And here comes that pin again, because this is one of the most insane parts of the episode. Sheen can travel all the way back to Sam's and back in a matter of seconds. Why does Sheen stop right there? Like, why would he stop right there and throw it to Carl when he could go the extra 2-3 feet and hand it to him? It is an absolutely insane decision on Sheen's part, on the entire writing team's part, and, you know, never change. Because now we get this amazing slow motion throwing shot out of it. So they get the super burp off and it nukes Jimmy, harder than the army ever could, to be honest. But it's still not enough. And Cindy shows significant character development in confronting Jimmy with a legitimate heart-to-heart about the mean mask that she puts on to conceal her real feelings about him.
The truth is, well, I sorta secretly
which causes Cindy to pass out, but Jimmy to return to his regular form. And now for the craziest transition of all time. Remember that we're in the middle of the desert, right? Their life force is draining by the minute. Jimmy comes up with a solution to heal them with the seltzer. He just needs to get them back to the lab. But how does he do that? When Jimmy deflated from Hulk form and became his normal self, he didn't have his hovercraft, he didn't have his watch, and he didn't have Goddard. We just go from this moment where all of his friends are on the brink of death to the whole gang on stage in public revitalized like it was no problem. Like, I guess the army could have taken them back, that's the most reasonable explanation, but when I saw that, it sent me.
Evil brothers and sisters, we are gathered here to plan the elimination of Jimmy Neutron!
Alrighty folks, that last episode was pretty insane, but there's 2 episodes more insane than it on this Rocks list. And one of them is the 45-minute episode about all of the most prominent villains who've crossed paths with Jimmy coming together to deal with him. These evil geniuses, these aliens and bandits and kings and special agents all come together to try and kill a 10-year-old. How old is Jimmy Neutron? all coming together to try and kill an 11-year-old. You already know my favorite of the bunch is Beautiful Gorgeous.
Our first order of business should be to give this guy a bath. He smells as bad as he looks.
Watch it, Toots!
That will come into play later. Put a pin in it. This episode is one of crossovers. Not only are all of the villains from episodes past here, but Jimmy is fucking around with inventions he's used before too. He's got the love potion from a previous episode.
Perhaps you recall Love Potion 976-J.
And he's got the essence of the N-Men superpowers, which upon use would give them their powers back for up to 30 minutes. So the villains split into teams to kill Jimmy. Cousin Eddie and Evil Grandma successfully dismantle Goddard. Calamitous and Billionaire Kid successfully use a hypnosis CD to render all of Jimmy's friends incapacitated and unable to help him. The alien bandits successfully seal off entry to his lab. The Junkman ship pulls up and sucks Jimmy up.
Keep Goobot, Baby Eddie, Grandma Taters, the Junkman, Eustace, Professor Calamitous, Beautiful Gorgeous, Zix, Travolta, and T!
That's so good. I love that they have him saying everyone's names. So now Jimmy's in a really bad spot. Like, this is no good for Jimbles. At least Sheen is hanging on to the ship, albeit still dancing. So they put Jimmy on trial for his crimes against the League of Villains. Sheen busts in honestly as brave as ever and faces the League, and the two are sent to Spaceship Prison. Sheen is nice to T, which starts to bring out his good side. Sheen believes that people can change, like the baby in the I Think You Should Leave Sloppy Steak sketch, but Jimmy doesn't. He sends a message for Carl to come and bring the N-Men packets. Sheen offers his last piece of gum to T, and they become friends. The aliens brainstorm how to kill Jimmy. Dumbass idiot Carl drops one of the packets. After seeing Jimmy's friends going to save him, his parents look in the clubhouse for something to help out too. And thanks to Hugh, they're sent back 75 million years all the way back into the prehistoric times.
Since when do you know how to drive Jimmy's rocket?
How hard can it be?
That's easy!
Cindy almost crashes into a plane and talks shit to them. Jimmy and Sheen are on the run with T. It's classic Survivor, baby. When you're on the outs, you gotta befriend whoever it is on the bottom of the totem pole on the other side. Dealing with the consequences of sending not just themselves, but the whole town back millions of years, Hugh throws Judy under the bus, even though it was totally him. And now it's time for the ultimate confrontation, the ultimate fight. Carl has brought the N-Men packs, but definitely mixed them up and forgot one in replacement of the love potion. Cindy is Dash, Libby is Burt Boy, Carl is Miss Appear, and Sheen is Special Girl. A very satisfying creative choice to set the stage for our epic final battle. It's the League of Villains versus a power-mixed N-Men. The good guys get clowned by the villains who are still getting used to their new powers. We're getting the payoff from the setup in N-Men?
Jimmy, there's something I always wanted to tell you. I
love potion! That's it! Thanks, Cindy.
And they utilize the love potion on Beautiful Gorgeous and the Junkman. The pin is coming back into play, baby!
You stink, you're ugly, and I love you.
Yeah, when I rewatched this, it unlocked a core memory. This was buried deep in there, and I forgot it was there till now. And now I can't forget it. Yeah, this is such a game changer that everyone is disoriented for long enough for the kids to escape, like for real. They could play it safe and go to the moon, but they remember that Brobot is there, an extremely annoying companion from the Brobot episode. And Jimmy says,
I'd rather take my chances with the villains.
Good call.
Agreed.
Can't blame you.
They travel through the wormhole Hugh created and reunite. And finally, the villains arrive 75 million years in the past. T pleads with Jimmy to save his friends, just like he did for him. And Jimmy agrees. And now T forces his friends to help Jimmy. Ah, this is cute.
Now we can finally get rid of you!
Prep Girl, blast him!
You got it!
That force field should lock them here in the Cretaceous era while we head back to the future.
So all the good guys, including T and the other former bandits, get back home safe and the remaining League of Villains are stuck in the past. Jimmy grabs Cindy's hand. A damn dog. This could be the last episode of the show. And now, time for the episode that inspired me to revisit and rank the most insane episodes of Jimmy Neutron, because of that one day where I went, hey, wasn't there that one episode where Carl gets impregnated by an alien?
Carl is pregnant?
What? It's a living mass of energy growing inside you, probably placed there by the alien that was attached to your face.
You heard me right. Carl Weezer is pregnant. In his ass. Yeah, this was the one that got me thinking about Jimbles again. I decided to rewatch the show since it's only 3 seasons and now had a burning curiosity to find out if any of the other episodes were quite as insane. And while we've gone through a lot of wild episodes today, I still find Who's Your Mommy to be the crown jewel. It in fact held that #1 spot the whole time. Like, this set the bar for insanity for me, and while we encountered many others, and even some that didn't make this list, this is my #1. And like, okay, the most fair thing you can say about this plot is that it is 100% an Alien tribute. The egg that the alien is in and the face-gripping being that implants the birthing alien into the body of the human, it's completely a nod to the original. But even still, this is an episode where Carl gets impregnated by an alien. And especially when you're a kid watching this, you don't know that. You just know this. He's pretty damn calm about it. And that's really what gets so crazy about this episode as it goes on. He kind of grows to enjoy being pregnant. When Jimmy shows up to his house after school, not only is his ass even bigger, growing like Sheen's head, but just how nonchalant him and his family are about this alien pregnancy is insane. Jimmy's trying to save Carl in his lab when he leaves to go to a baby shower with the girls. Very helpful, ladies. Dude, just look at Carl's dump truck. I really think it's the consensus among everyone that's not Jimmy to just be cool with this that makes it an episode. Like, even Jimmy himself says this is insane.
Carl, this is insane!
And I put it on the top of my list not just because it was what got me on the search to begin with, but it's what keeps that holy shit factor high most of the time. It's what keeps my jaw dropped more than half of the time of the episode. And it's only 11 minutes. They do so much in only 11 minutes. So now Sheen is doing the most to help Carl in the most critical moment of his life. Shout out to the stretchiest pants of all time. Jimmy is trying to fight Alien with science, but then Carl comes in. And that's who your mommy is, Schmango. That thing. We get a happy ending with Carl and friends visiting Schmango on their birthday. How wholesome. The show is insane. I love it.